Hi and welcome back to Greenmark Builders TV. Today we're going to show you how to put up the Veranda horizontal rail kit. First thing you do, you walk in, grab your rails, take your top and bottom rail. I like to line it up so it's 90 degrees. Take a measurement. Your length, this is 39. I'm adding 3 inches to that. So my number is going to be 42 3/4. Next thing you do is you measure your spacing for your post. What I like to do, get the 2 outside posts on, split your difference. And then what you do is you go and you make your notches. Because this rail is less than 24 inches off the ground, it's considered landscaping. So you don't have to put your rail support on the inside of your rim joist. I'm bolting it onto the outside of the joist, and I'm using leg bolts for that. So when I constructed this corner post, what I did, instead of notching the entire backside off, what I did was I notched just the inside out. So when you look at it, it's finished on both sides. So now I'm going to show you how I laid mine out. Basically, I took my number 42 3/4. I marked 42 3/4. Basically, I added another 10 inches because I have a 9.5 inch rim joist. Plus I've got my decking, so I just rounded that off to 10 inches. So I went total length at 52 3/4 inches. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a 1.5 inch notch out of it, and then I've marked the back side of what I'm doing, because my table saw will only cut so far and I'll be chiseling the rest. That's why I'm notching this side. When I go to make that cut across the top, you wanna get your depth to exactly 1.5 inches. I like using a compound sliding miter saw. You need to put a spacer at the back, so then when you make your cut, you're able to go all the way through so it doesn't rise up at the end. That way you maintain your 1.5 inches all the way through. What I'm doing is I'm measuring the back side. You've got your 1.5 inches. I've measured the back side for cutting off. I always like putting your solid piece against the fence. Another little trick is what you do is you mark where the back part of your blade is. Because what happens is you can't see where your blade is finishing. Take a square, mark that up, and make a little line on top. So when you're cutting and you see where your cut is, you know that that's where you need to stop your blade, or stop your wood going through the machine. So by making that little line on your saw, you're able to end just perfectly where you need to stop. Next thing you do, either take a wedge. I just use my hammer. You pop it in there, and you see that, how it cuts off nice and clean. So then what you do, you just go take your chisel, you pop the excess off, and that's how you notch your post. One thing I do to clean it up, go one step further. So what I do is I loosen up this little thumb screw here at the back. I set my guard to the right distance. I've already set it to the proper distance. So I can put my board in, my post in here, hold it, and make a nice clean cut. And what that does is just cleans the end up of your piece of material. And when you put it on, you don't see any of those kind of loose fibers sticking out of the wood. Now if we did our notch properly, we should be able to just drop this in. And that's where she sits. So before I lag them in, what I like to do is take a couple 3-inch screws and pound them in first, just so then you make sure everything's where it needs to be before you go and suck it right into place. So check the post is level. Check the level this way, and we're sitting pretty good. So now what I'm doing is I'm measuring between my posts, and you have to remember that you've got these caps that go on the end of each rail. And what I do is I go back to back with them, get a measurement. So this here is 1/2 inch. So whatever our measurement is, mine is 1/2 inch. So now to make your spacing all work out good, you can't just measure from one end and go 60 1/8 and then hack it. What you want to do, find the center. So these things are 72. So find the center is 36. Then you go and split your number. I'm 60 1/8, so that's 30 1/16. So I go 30 1/16, mark my one end, and then I go 60 1/8 on the other end. Little trick, what you do is you stack your two pieces together when you make your cut, so both pieces are perfectly the same. You're not relying on measurements each time. So then we cut our boards, centered them off, lopped off each end, and what I did is I brought it up flush. This one we're going with a cap all the way across the top. So what we did was we screwed on at the top, and you can see this board I've got here. So when I went to put my bottom piece in, I just made sure the pressure was on so that we don't have a space. And you're not going to hear this vibration sound from the spindles moving. Like, they're all nice and solid. All right, so now it's part of the handrail process where we do the stairs. So to prep the stairs, obviously we're going to do the same thing that we're doing with our posts here. I've notched the post just like I showed you on the other ones. And pretty much I'm just going to make my notch here. So then my nosing, I have room for my nosing, so I'll just make that cut, and then we're going to fasten our post on. All right, the next step is to make your cuts. So all you have to do is you have to balance your holes here, and you're just letting this board run across. So that's how you get your angle. So once you've got your balance, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. You take your pencil, you mark a line, and those are your cuts. So you notice these spindles are a little different. They're the stair kit spindles. They've got an angle that's built into it. It's not perfect. Each one has a little bit of adjustment, but it works. So set those in. You'll notice I left this post long. That's because I find that when you cut to the exact length and the exact angle, sometimes if there's any movement, you'll find that you'll have a gap in the end. And I always like to sight cut if I can. So what I do is I flush up on the top, and you have to eyeball across the top of your handrail, and you just draw your line. Do that on both sides, and make your cut. Okay, after I cut my cap, then I always like to pound a couple screws this way because I find you get really good purchase. All right, now it's time for the cap. So what I've done on this one, I've put my 2 screws together. I just took my length, outside of post, cut my outside miter, and same thing with this, outside of post, outside, inside miter. So now basically what I'm doing, I'm gonna set my corner. I'm gonna screw my next miter together. I always screw the miter together first. And once you screw down all your cap, you should be complete. If you want to take it to another level, grab your belt sander, go over all your cap, all your joints, make sure everything's nice and smooth just to avoid slivers. Make sure you follow your local building code. All you DIYers out there, make sure you subscribe. We got a lot of great projects coming up that you're not going to want to miss. If you have any suggestions on anything you want us to do a video on, make sure you leave it in the comments below. I'm Mark from Greenmark Builders TV. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time.